Good afternoon, everyone. And on the call, I know you guys were wondering if your questions are going to be answered today about the ADUs. And Christine had the most important question of it all. Am I able to put an ADU on my property or not? Okay, and that's why we called that meeting the 2020 vision for your ADUs. Can you put one on? So I think we all agree that, by the way, my name is Lenska and I work with Cresta Backyard Homes, and I'm a real estate broker and ADU certified, and my job at Crest Backyard Homes is actually to let you know, can you put an ADU? And we prefer obviously manufactured ADUs, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And maybe I should make that a little bit bigger, so you guys, I know the eyes are always. All right, this is my intro, and now, oh, we're missing a slide. Here we go. I skipped over the two most important people in the company. John Aronson, he is the contractor, galore, 40 years experience. John, say hi.
Howdy.
All right, and Tim Hips is our man in the background. You get to know him once the ADU becomes more than just 2020 vision, when you actually have to put some money down to pay for it. Okay, we all know an ADU. We want to put your money that you already have in some of your in your properties to work, because a lot of people have what we call debt equity. And we want to make you that mailbox money investor, right? Where the checks are coming in. So that leads us to the question, how much is too much? Okay, right now we're about 8 times the medium household. That's what we have to pay for properties. This is higher than it was during the housing bubble. So you would think if you already own a property, the best thing you can do is put another house on it, be it for family or be it for rental purposes. Okay, so we already covered that. Let's hear from you. People ask questions, and that's prompted us to kind of got the show on the road. So what your checklist should include. So I usually, when I meet with people, I come out and we do a thorough investigation of the property. Before I come out, we do actually do a Zoom meeting where we already explore a lot of the most important things. And I'm going to go pretty fast because we can later on discuss it more in details, right? So this is a report you receive after we analyzed it all. So we obviously look, the first thing you need to do is look at your primary dwelling data, right? The most important thing is you got to find out your APN number, obviously verify the bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage, lot size, and when it was built. So that's kind of your basic data. Then you're looking at the site plan, so your lot lines, for example, and the size and length of it. As you can see, this is not perfect, so these always don't line up, right? So that's why you kind of right there probably need to talk to your title company or go down to the city or to the jurisdiction to verify that. Unless you work with us, we can do that for you, okay? Then research the zoning. Sometimes, you know, you might be on a multifamily zoning, but you only have a single home on there. You might have a townhouse. You might have a twin home. Okay, you might have a duplex. So all the various zonings have an effect on what you can actually add or not add. So we always talk about adding an ADU, right? So you can do that on a single family.
The realtor will be asking for seller credit.
Okay, yes. That is always good to ask for seller credits, especially right now. So we got some input there. And so if it's a multifamily, you, for example, cannot do a junior ADU. What is a junior ADU? A junior ADU is when the home is owner occupied and you convert some of the existing square footage, or some cities allowed you to add on to the house and make that a junior ADU, and it is limited in size to under 500 square feet. So that's why it's important to also verify your square footage, what we said in the beginning. Then obviously you need to know your utilities. Where's your water, electrical panel, sewer, and gas? If you are, for example, on septic, that your whole ADU, it becomes a whole different project, because you have to start with the septic contractor first, because usually you look like you have a lot of room, but the septic and leach line take up maybe a third of your property. So you might not have enough room to put a secondary system in there. So you can see that this is getting already pretty much in the weeds and pretty complicated. So then you have to obviously figure also out your utility distances, because sometimes if you have a deep lot, right, then do you have enough fall to install the utilities? For example, the sewer, right? So then you need to look at your water meter, your electrical panel, and possibly your gas meter. You know, has it the right size? Does the water meter has the right size? Is the electrical panel the right size? So then we usually do, or I do a lot of drone photos. As you can see in this picture, you can see all the phone lines, and sometimes they're power lines. They're actually two sets of lines. I'm not sure if it comes across in that picture. So what does it mean? That means that maybe a manufactured option is not a possibility. Okay, so we usually, when we come out, you know, we give the homeowner the option manufactured, or maybe in some jurisdictions you can do a tiny house. But you see, this house does not have a lot of access. So this is about 9 feet, right? So to even roll city would allow it is questionable. Okay. So measure twice, order once applies here as well. So we do a lot of photos to just see the access, and maybe is there another way? Can we take down maybe a hedge or a fence to roll it in? Right, so those are all the obvious. It's obviously much better quality, up-to-date version, because Google only updates their aerial satellite images so often. Okay, so then we kind of then you kind of see, okay, is 9.5 feet enough to roll one in? And then look at this. So we can't take out the fence because the neighbors, even to use the neighbor's driveway, would have been 3-inch higher. So we'll do practically like you're going to the doctor and get a physical. That's what you can do, or you can hire us to do it. And here you see all the various lines, right? So we're unable to crane in a unit. So you practically can do that too. So we'll do a couple of things. Then we obviously, then your ADU placement is
That's
important.
good.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick. Just had a situation with Wes just the other day. Wes, folks, is with Bob's Crane Service down in Chula Vista, and they do our crane sets and they do all of our estimates. They'll give you a free estimate from their office, basically just by doing what we do, going online, taking a look at your lot from a Google map. And what they did tell me, because I thought we were going to have to walk away from the deal the other day because of power lines going across the property. But when Wes looked at it, he realized that those were not high power lines. They weren't high voltage. They were just communication lines. And he said he'll go across those all day long. But the rule of thumb that you need to know is if you have high power overhead lines, a crane cannot break that plane from the street to the rear of your home. So unless he was able to stage both the crane and the actual components that were going to be lifted over the home and onto the parcel of the lot where it's going to go, they wouldn't be able to do it. From the street, they can't do it if they're overhead high power lines. But if they're just communication lines, then he said they can do it all day long.
Yeah, and I hopefully you guys stay all tuned to this group, because we will have a crane installation very soon, and you all be invited to stand back and watch the show. So stay tuned for this. So yes, so the ADU placement could be the crane maybe doesn't reach that far, or you know, here we maximized it with the square footage and putting it all the way in the back to still have enough room for the main house maybe to expand and to keep their backyard. Or you could put it this way, right? But then you're looking into each other's kitchen window or so. So that's also something. So think about, you know, how would you like to face the unit and place the unit? So then we obviously always look at financing options. We can do, you know, right now it's pretty popular to do HELOCs because people already sit on a 3% interest rate. Then you got to figure out, is it for my family? Is it feasible? Or am I charging rent? And how much money do I spend in order to achieve a certain rental amount? Okay. Then how much cash flow? Just because you get a return on your money doesn't mean you have the same in cash flow. So that is kind of for, you know, for people that maybe are on a budget and have a higher payment, and that payment needs to be covered by the rent. So we're going to look at that. We're also looking at it in your neighborhood. Is it good to have a 1-bedroom or maybe a 3-bedroom? So obviously, and then people always want to know, you know, how much value will this increase? Because if you go for a loan, right, then the appraiser will come out, and you practically need to be pretty proactive and show the appraisers that there may have been sales in your neighborhood that support that higher value. Okay, here, you know, you will receive some, you know, look for your neighborhood to find comps, and then we come up with the value. Also look at the, you know, the rental. How much does it rent in my neighborhood? And you see when you walk your dog or go on your scooter in the neighborhood and see the for rent signs, or you can go on Zillow or any property on hot pads, and even Craigslist is coming back now, and kind of see what does a 2-bedroom, 2-bath rent in my neighborhood. So, and then we'll summarize it practically. Then you gotta figure out, you know, is it all feasible? Looking at all things. So that's my contact info. The fees usually run between 300 and 500 for whatever I just showed you on your property. And so here's your ADU checklist: the legal specification of the property, verifying your site specifications, aerial drone photos and surveillance, and for that sake, also a lot of ground photos. You gotta confirm the setbacks, easements, restrictions. There's the weirdest thing I came across for a restriction was that you couldn't go 2-story on your lot because you would obstruct the view of another home behind you. So be careful, research that with your title company, because you don't want to get down the line and suddenly, you know, finally somebody finds out you have a restriction. And obviously we talked about the zoning, the location of the utilities, the pre-planning of utility routing, because maybe you'll come across an asbestos pipe in the ground or something else that could come up. Then, you know, what is your current property value about, and what will be the future value? Then providing placement options for your ADU. Think about, also privacy and backyard and outdoor space. 11 is floor plan options, right? So think about 2-bedroom, 1 bath, two and two, and what could be the most economical. Then the financial analysis, the return on your investment, we talked about it, your financing choices, and please stay tuned for next month. We have a really super creative company that is kind of partnering up with you, and maybe John wants to elaborate later on this. But so next month's meeting is all about that creative financing choice. Rental analysis is strongly advised, obviously, if you're planning on renting it, and check with your local jurisdiction, right? Because they might have certain design requirements, size requirements, and let me tell you, each jurisdiction is slightly different, and so it's important to work, together with people that are familiar with those jurisdictions, and then have a pre-design meeting with a city planner. You can go online, for example, is a city of San Diego, or some, let you ask email questions or even go to the counter, okay? Then 18 is obviously, it's a budget, preliminary estimate of all in cost. That's what we do when I do the analysis. Certainly inflation has taken its toll on contractor pricing, but hopefully we're getting maybe a little bit back to normal. And then, your final recommendations and referrals to ADU professionals. And there's a whole lot of people you will need. And what is number 20 on your checklist you should do? Call Lenska or John, please. Okay, that will take off a lot of headaches for you. Our contact info is right there. And we appreciate listening and doing lunch and learn with Lenska and John. And I'm going to undo my screen. So if you guys have any questions, now is the time to ask.
I think Troy had a question. If he's still with us. Troy, you still with us?